All right, all right, all right. I'm gonna let everything matriculate first. How's everybody doing? Well, those who are watching. Um, Let me drop this QR code because I have some things to talk about. I have some things to talk about. As of recent, there is a lot of like the last maybe 2 months. I've just been collecting information, right? And the reality of the situation is the more the more I realize and the more I listen to y'all, the more I come to an understanding that a lot of you guys, and no, let me not say you guys, just in general, right? That black people are very stupid. Are like we're very, 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 very stupid. Very stupid. And it didn't really hit me fully until I was on Ed's stream last night about the whole Glendon Cameron situation, which I'm going to go into with Glendon Cameron. Now, let me preface this by saying that I do not know Glendon. I don't know who he is personally. Probably don't care to know who he is personally, and that's fine by me. The issue that I have with this entire scenario is that it really showcased to me how fucking dumb a lot of you are. Like how truly fucking, and let me not even say dumb, but the fact of the matter is that as much as you niggas talk about the community and all this shit, the reality is you're very okay with boys suffering as long as it keeps the cognitive dissonance you have towards women intact. All throughout that stream, you just had niggas come up one after another in the comments talking about, oh, well, these girls, oh, I have daughters, trying to masquerade the fact that you niggas only have these opinions when it's heterosexual boy on girl interactions. If it's girl on girl, y'all niggas don't say shit. If it's older women propositioning young boys, y'all definitely don't say shit. But the moment, oh, thank you guys, appreciate it. Nothing. I mean, I'm going over some stuff because you know, like with this whole Glendon Cameron situation and the whole thing with Smurgo showing how most of you niggas don't want to raise your kids anyway. I'm really starting to understand why a lot of this shit doesn't work. Thank you, Prime Time. Thank you. Appreciate that. Drop a like. But, going back to what I was saying, this whole age of consent thing, it really showcases that you niggas are fucking stupid. And that not only are you fucking stupid, you like to act. Like y'all are some tap dancing ass motherfuckers. You like to act and pretend like you care about the boys. You don't. Like, as much as I listen to y'all talk, y'all really don't understand that. Just like women, y'all don't understand that if you want to have a competitive community, the welfare and well-being of your boys is going to be paramount over your girls. Not completely over your girls, but you're going to have to prioritize the well-being of your boys. And what I gathered from this whole Glendon Cameron situation, what I gathered from that live with Ed, is that a lot of you black men and women are just full of shit. You don't care what happens to your boys if the people, and I even say the people, you don't care in general what happens to your boys. All this concern that came out about, oh, he attacks children, he attacks this. First of all, most of y'all don't even understand that the age of consent is 14. You're absolutely right. If these people, you're absolutely right. And that's a great point about Jada, because the thing about Jada is that when you understand that she preyed upon August Alsina, who was recovering from drug addiction and was mentally and physically vulnerable, and no one cared, that lets you know that it doesn't matter. It doesn't, like, no one cares about what happens to boys and men if the perpetrators of them being abused are women. If women attack boys and men, no one cares. But that aside, let's start with the whole age of consent thing, because it fascinates me how so many people have this mythology that the age of 18, no, the correction, not the age of 18, that the age of 15 is too young to be having intimate settings with people, right, above your age. But at the same time, you can drive a car. All throughout the comments of that video and even other videos, it was like, oh, a girl at 15 is too vulnerable. A girl at 15 is too vulnerable. A girl at 15 is too vulnerable to know if she wants to have sex or not, right? Or engage in relationships with men above her age. She's too young for that. But this same girl at 15 can take classes, can take a couple driving classes, pass a test, and at 16 can legally drive a car. She's too young to decide if she wants to have sex, but she can drive a car legally, right? And because everyone there was arguing legality and ethics. Is it ethically right that she can drive a car at 16? But let's think about it. Is it though? But see, that's the problem though. It's like y'all don't like to think. And then it especially became apparent to me when in that same conversation I brought up biology, and all these niggas, well, minus maybe Ed and someone else, were like, oh, well, but it doesn't matter. Biology is this. Like, bro, the reason why the age of consent across the globe is not 18 and is even younger is because when you look at, in fact, I'm gonna pull up some, because I've been collecting articles, right? To really break down this concept, because I realized that, as BGS has said, you niggas don't like to read. You black people in general don't like to read. So if I say read the article, y'all won't read it. If I say buy the book, most of y'all won't buy it. But what you realize, right, when you look at the human genome and just how humans operate, right, it's that once you look at it, you realize that for the human species, we have a window, a reproductive window. That reproductive window starts the moment we begin puberty Typically for men, it's 13. For women, it's when they begin ovulation. Ovulation can happen anywhere between the ages of 8 and above. Now, why is that? When you look at how mankind has evolved over the ages, this civilization we have with these buildings, with these structures, with these laws, didn't always exist. The house you're sitting in, probably watching this, wasn't there all the time. Before it was built, it was most likely a giant forest. Can we agree on that, right? So that means that there was a time when mankind had to be more vigilant about how we operated. And when you look at, for example, how over the last 100 years, the lifespan of human beings has gone up like 40 years. Before the 1920s, before the 1940s, the average human lifespan was like what? Like 30? We had a high mortality rates before 30. But before like the 1940s, we were dying early. 30. If you lived 30 years prior to 1940, you had a good life. Can you imagine that shit? So what does that tell you? That if human beings up until recently only started having lifespans that surpassed 30 regularly, what does that tell you about how our reproductive style is adjusted towards that? In animal biology, there's two types of reproductive styles. There's the R and the K strategist. Terms of reproduction. I'm going to actually pull it up for you guys so you guys can see it. I'm going to pull it up for you guys. So when we look at, here we go. Let me pull it up. Yes, you are absolutely right on prime time. I have cousins from the hood, hoodoo girls and 18 dating girls. Again, you're absolutely, I mean, and that's something I hear a lot about and with y'all is that, you know, as much as women and men like to make this argument about how these young girls are taken advantage of, everyone has a story about how in high school, these same young girls that you're saying that can't decide what they want to do with their vaginas at 15 were already doing this shit at 14 in high school. And it goes back to this reality that, you know, in the Western world, y'all don't like to see women as full human beings. You know, y'all don't like to see women as capable of, you know, great evil as well. But I'm going to pull this up for you guys so you can see it. Let me share my screen. Okay. Let me share my screen because I'm going to really try and break this down. Okay, so in in ecology and animal biology, there's two types of population production types, right? There is the R and the K strategist types. These two types of reproduction styles are typically predicated on the mortality of the species. So in the example we have here, we have, you know, I'm sure you know whales, right? Whales and mice. The key difference between these two animals is that, as you should know, whales have incredibly long lifespans if they aren't killed. These fuckers will live damn near 100, maybe 100 years. So was with turtles, right? But with mice, they're a smaller creature and their lifespans are shorter. So when we go into what these are, I'm going to highlight this, right? It says that the R selection type is one extreme of species that are highly R related. R is for reproduction. Such species put only small investments of resources into each offspring. I want you to see that. Such species only put small investments of resources into each offspring, but produce many such low effort babies. Now, what does that remind you of globally? If you look at the global picture, right, in most poor countries, you'll see families with 12, 8, 13 kids, right? 10 kids. And typically you only see this in people who come from impoverished backgrounds or third world countries, right? In the African American community, I care all the time about how, you guys have your grandparents who was one of 8 kids. Even with white people, if you go back far enough, it's the same. It was one of 12 kids. But if you look at those families, they were usually poor, right? This gives insight to that mindset, though for human beings is a little different because we have the ability to change our resource management as time goes on, as you can clearly see by how, the more resources we get as human beings, the less kids we have. But I'm going to read this again. Let me read this again. Such species put only a small investment of resources into each offspring, but produces many such low effort babies. Such species are also generally not invested in protecting or rearing these young. Often the eggs are fertilized and dispersed. The benefits of this strategy here's a key point. The benefits of this strategy is if resources are limited or unpredictable, you can still produce some young. And there we go. I said it earlier. This strategy appeals more to those who come from, if we're talking about human beings, right? Come from impoverished countries, any country you want to name, Africa, any Eastern European country, any Latin American country, all of India, if you really want to go there. And of course, the slums and ghettos of America. Let's read it again. The benefit of this strategy is that if resources are limited or unpredictable, you can still produce some young. This is why over time, if you look back prior, like the 1900s, you had these big families of 8 kids by 2 people, 9 kids by 2 people, because the mortality rate for human beings was 30 years. And now the reason why this is important is that when you combine the fact that at that time and place, and for the most part, overall, human beings only lived till 30 without the aid of, proper nutrition or medical, right? And then combine the fact that this strategy is observed in other species that is beneficial for those who have limited or unpredictable sources of resources, you understand, you can piece together why, generally speaking, excuse me, why, generally speaking, the age of consent globally has always been around the peak, not even the peak, the start of puberty. Now, the bigger reason why this happens this way, and I pray to God that my screen was sharing. Okay, it was. Thank goodness. That'd have been such trash if I said all that and then, had this pulled up and my screen wasn't sharing. Jesus Christ. And yes, I'll be posting these links if y'all want to read it yourself. For those that like to read, I'll be posting them in the chat periodically. So let me just post this one right now. But as I was saying that, the reason why you have the age of consent that is globally 14, why in the United States it's been 14, in Georgia it's 16, is because of the fact that when you look at the key productive factors of reproduction for men and women, for the human species, for men, you have testosterone and sperm. Women, estrogen and eggs. The quality of our sperm and our eggs falls off a hill, off a cliff, the moment we hit 30. The moment most human beings hit 30, the quality of our reproductive material declines. So you have this situation where, for the most part, resources are finite. Therefore, the influx of such resources are hard to maintain, making us by nature our strategist until we attain steady flows of resources. Because we're our strategist, naturally, we produce high levels of children, like that of turtles or like that of mice. We produce high amounts of kids because at the end of the day, we know that some of these kids may die. In fact, most of these kids will die, but at least 2 or 3 should live. And that's just, how nature works. Factor all that in with also the reality that when it comes to our reproductive functioning, our prime years are when we start puberty and when we hit 30. So using boys, from the time we hit 13 to the time we hit 30 is when we're producing the best quality sperm we will ever make. Now, here's one reason. Now here's how that factors into how people date, though, on the side piece, right? Is that typically you'll say, okay, well, that's why most men have kids at 35. Yes, but who do they pick? They pick younger women, right? And this is when you have the conditionality that if a man who's past his reproductive peak, i.e. 30, picks a woman who's in her reproductive prime, you can offset the lessening of quality. Because one thing that a lot of people don't understand when it comes to these waiting till you're 45 and 50 to have kids is that the main reason why a lot of genetic mutations arise in children, i.e. Down syndrome, is because you had bad quality sperm or bad quality egg. Your egg and sperm was past expiration date to be having kids. In fact, after this, I'll find a scholarly journal to show you guys. But yes, the reason why you have children so young, or human always done it, is because we have a limited window of when we're producing our best quality genetic material. And once we go over that time frame, the quality degradation increases immensely. And this results in higher chances of genetic abnormalities in our kids. If you have kids past 30 and one of you isn't in your prime youthfully, there's a higher chance of having genetically deformed children in some capacity, whether it be autism, whether it be Down syndrome, Asperger's, you name it, it becomes multiplied. And here's, just for those who want to really look at this, let me show you this. I want to show y'all guys this because this is something, I know I don't like that type of screen. This is something that I want to show y'all. I recently found this article. So put a 1 if y'all can see this. I want to make sure everything is syncing up. Put a 1 in the chat if y'all can see the article I pulled up. And let me just make sure this is all going copaesthetically. Okay, so in this article, right, I want you to just read this title for me. It says, after genetic testing, we took a chance on imperfect pregnancy. Now, first thing, notice, and this is for all the Black women who may or may not watch this. I want y'all to notice how on an article, this is the New York Times, on an article discussing infertility and the consequences for infertility, they used an image of a Black woman. Now, I'm saying this because recently I've noticed this pattern where whenever we talk about the ethnic image of blacks, everybody can tell you how bad black men look, which most black men who are intelligent will admit that yes, black men are seen as the boogeyman of the mating world. Almost every other group of men has this innate fear of the BBC. I don't know why, I don't care why, but we've all experienced it. But when we begin to talk about how the world views black women, that's when people start, tap dancing, start beatboxing. Start all this bullshit. The moment we start talking about how the world sees black women, that's when that's when it becomes metaphysical. And I made a video on that, but I just want y'all to notice the imagery that what's up, Son of a Hot Raw, appreciate it. I want y'all to notice the imagery they used in this article pertaining to infertility and the consequences that can arise from it. I want to read it to you guys. I read it earlier. So here's something that I want y'all to understand, right? It says right here. Let me find it. Yeah, right here. Here we go. This was actually this year in April. So this is a recent article too. So my husband and I were sitting in an Upper East Side office with deep-toned velvet couches and fluffy throw pillows, surrounded by pictures of smiling babies. As the fertility doctor gave us his spiel, he told us that after age 35, a woman's chances of getting pregnant drop. I'll read that again. He told us that after age 35, a woman's chances of getting pregnant drop. Older women produce few normal embryos, even with fertility treatment. Now, doesn't this apply to what I said earlier? Is that our window of fertility for human beings is locked by once we hit puberty. For men, it's typically 13. You start producing testosterone, and our sperm production goes up. For women, they can start their cycles as early as 8 years old. But once that starts till about 30 to 35, that's when it's if you don't have kids, then the quality of your reproductive material jumps off a cliff. Now let's continue. By testing the chromosomes in my embryos, he said we could weed out abnormal embryos that may lead to miscarriage or a child with disabilities, and only these viable ones. Again, like I said, once you start having kids past these prime mating years, you increase the chances of having abnormal, defective children, right? Or miscarriages. This is why, for example, you'll see with these celebrities, with these old celebrity black women, they always have a story of how they've been trying to get pregnant for years. And they're, post 35-year-olds. Oh, we went to in vitro this. We went to a doctor this. Oh, I got to time my ovulation clock, et cetera, et cetera. You want to know why they got to do that shit? Because after 35, your genetic material, you know what it's like? It's like how in SpongeBob, if y'all watch that show, when Patrick was it's like how when SpongeBob, when Squidward wanted to impress Squilliam, right, and made the Krusty Krab into a fine dining center, and essentially made SpongeBob forget everything but fine dining. But then the moment he was asked his name, we saw how his brain was like on fire, going haywire. That's what happens to your reproductive system after the age of 30. The shop is closing. Last calls are done. The quality ends. And if you continue to have kids after that age, and you don't offset that by having a younger embryo or a better or younger sperm, you will multiply the reality of having abnormal embryos that lead to miscarriage and having defective kids. Now, here's the kicker. And like I said earlier, here's the kicker right here. I've always been a late bloomer. I met my husband at 37. and married at 39. I was in good health but pushing 40. There you have it. 37, met her husband at 30. And this is the thing that, and this, this is something that like a lot of these Kevin Samuels haters, a lot of these men, especially the women, get mad at. I've said it before, women aren't mad at men, they're mad at biology. She met her husband at 37, married at 39, was in good health physically, but not reproductive wise at 40. With diminishing egg count and quality. So to fast forward all through this, right? What this article is telling, and I'll post it in the chat, what this article goes over is a real future that's gonna be happening to a lot of women in the coming decades. A lot of Black women in particular, because I mean, again, they used a Black woman for this. Again, this is the New York Times. They used a Black woman as the poster child for this shit for a reason. I say all this to say, when it comes to the age of consent globally, it's at 14, 15, 16, etc., etc., etc. Yes, men of Ra, yes. The testosterone drops 1% a year. You're absolutely right. But see, the overall amount of testosterone men have is already in deciliters. We already have a very small amount of testosterone to begin with. It dropping once a year is disastrous. If we're talking about reproduction. And also, again, the quality. And actually, testosterone isn't even the real problem. It's the quality of the sperm you produce. It's like trying to bake a cake with rotten eggs. The quality of the material breeds better children. Or better yet, children with higher chances of no disabilities. The lower the quality of sperm and egg you use, the higher chances of having abnormal embryos. You're absolutely right. Yes. There are pills you can take. Personally, I take zinc, vitamin D3, and magnesium. Those three have been tested as aids to slow down or even reverse the process. Nevertheless, you can't beat time. But like I was saying, the point of the age of consent is a necessary, I wouldn't even say necessary evil. It's not necessarily evil because the reality of the situation is that when you look at human beings, we only have prime reproductive to make the best crop of people. You have to start having kids from the time you start puberty till 30. Why? Because if you don't, the quality of your sperm and egg declines. Once that happens, if you don't offset that reproductive decline by matching it up with a in-peak egg or sperm, you increase the chances of having a highly defective child, autism, Asperger's, Down syndrome, etc., or just going through a string of miscarriages left and right. And this is why you also see older men who are past that peak of their own peak sexually, right? Who will go to younger women because you can offset that impending decline and possible abnormality by offsetting one of them. Very true, Rob, very true. And the reason why I'm tying all of this stuff to the age of consent is that once you understand that human beings physically have increased our lifespans, but biochemically haven't, you will comprehend that the age of consent reflects our biochemical limitations. Because our sperm count as men jumps off a cliff at 35, and because the quality of eggs women have diminishes almost by 90% by 30. I.e., geriatric pregnancy. Our laws regarding consent reflect that because the reality is the younger you have kids, the better quality children, the better genetic crop of the children will be, the less chances of abnormalities. And at the end of the day, you need to pass on the next generation. This is why all that's important. This is why consent is 14 in some countries. It's 14. And in some states, it's 16. And other times it's 15 if you have the consent of the parents. This whole fake morality shit that I saw for Glendon Cameron, and this whole they're just 15 years old, all this bullshit, it just showcased how fucking remedial so many of you are. So many of you. Like, I mean, when BGS says y'all niggas don't read, y'all niggas really don't read. The consent is what, and then you had a guy saying, and then, to Ed's credit, when Ed talks about how these dudes with daughters are like enemies of progress, I'm seeing it because you got guys saying, oh, I feel disgusted that you are talking about dating 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds as grown men. I'm like, are we going to now deny that 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds don't seek out sex? Are we going to then apply this notion that the idea for the notion of being sexually inclined for women has a age limit or age starting point? Are we going to act retarded over this shit? And you're absolutely right. Yes, I said it right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, good cholesterol is very important. These are foods that can actually boost that. Typically, I stay with certain kind of nuts, like not so salted nuts, like I guess cashews, etc. But you're definitely true. You're right about that. But as I was saying, in that chat, you had guys talking about how oh, I have daughters, and see, that's the problem I see in general, is that aside from how you niggas don't like to read, y'all are just fucking fake. You guys talk about, and let me not say you guys, because let me be very clear. The people that have these opinions will be in these same areas talking about patriarchy and all this shit, but then still don't understand that if you're talking about patriarchy, you can't throw out your boys to the wilderness. And when I say that, I'm not implying that you throw your girls out of the set. What I'm saying is that you cannot have a competitive, progressive community on the backs of women, or that is governed by the whims of women. If you want to compete, you have to prepare your boys for the reality of what's going on. You have to protect your sons, because these same sons that you're not protecting are then going to be demanded to protect these girls y'all swear you'll care about so much. But in that entire chat is, oh, I work with girls. Oh, the girls I see, I make it personal. And I'm like, nigga, you don't care when it's these women turning these boys out. This fake outrage and this gendered, it's like I wouldn't even say it's like reverse sexism. It's just retarded. It makes you realize that at the end of the day, the biggest enemy towards male autonomy isn't even women, it's other men. Y'all are willing to let your boys die and burn at the stake just to say you protected the imaginary, arbitrary chastity of women who you already know defile themselves. Every guy that came up there talking about protecting these girls and what are the girls doing couldn't say back that women don't already seek out this stuff themselves. None of them. couldn't say that these girls already seek this stuff out. Everyone that came at Glendon Cameron couldn't say that, oh, the girls didn't go and find him. They found him. 16, 17, all that shit. They went to him. But no, you see, society isn't ready to confront the fact that women are full human beings. And when I say full human beings, I mean the same capacity for evil, greed, lust, etc., that we attribute to men so cavalierly exist in spades in women. And you know, the craziest thing is that because because Western society has made this image that women can do no wrong, right? And that women are pure. What we're seeing in women today is a reaction to that. For so many centuries of suppressing the evils that live in women, it's finally bursting out. And now people are like, oh my God, how are women like this? Oh my God, the girls are crazy. Oh my, she's for the streets. She's for the streets. We're seeing it all over social media. Girls just cavalierly just letting it hang all out. Women telling women how to drug men. Women telling women how to get over on men cleanly. Women killing their own kids. Exactly right. It's always been there. It's that you're absolutely right, Rod. It's always been there. But my point is that it's always been there, and men, included with these women, have been continually trying to suppress the fact that women can commit evil too. And because they've been suppressing this for so long, thanks to feminism, the lid has finally popped off. And now everybody is running around like chickens trying to fix it, trying to put it back in the box. Oh, it's not all women. Oh, it's women you deal with. Oh, it's I love this one, where it's, especially with black girls, it'll be like, oh, I didn't know what a good man looked like. I didn't have a dad at home. I didn't, blah, 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 etc., etc. These behaviors always existed, but every time they came to the surface, Western society has made a very strong attempt to hold it, to keep it in the closet. Because if you look at the Eastern world, they tell you in all types of text, stories, etc., that women can be evil. They tell you that shit all the time. Oh, Prime. No, and you know what, Prime? Actually, that's not even true too. Because you know what I realize is that when these black women pick these non-black men, they usually pick matriarchal black men. These women never pick the black men. These women never pick, if they're not picking the properly oriented black men, they're picking the matriarchal non-black men. And you want to know how I know that? Is that you'll have these non-black dudes who will stand there blank-faced while their black girlfriends call their kids black. I want you to think about that shit. You're a whole white guy. Like, for example, what's his name? Alex on anything or nothing, or whatever his name is. He called his daughter saying his daughter's a black girl. My guy, you are a whole Armenian. Armenians are probably the most Caucasians in the world. Your daughter isn't black. But because Serena picked the type of white man who will just essentially give up his genetic claims to his children, it's over. Because here's the thing: what you'll never see What you will never see is you'll never see a non-black man, right, claim that his kids aren't black because he's not black. I'll say that again. You'll never see a non-black man who's dating black women claim his kids aren't black because he's not black. You'll never see that. All the non-black men they pick are black men, are non-black dudes who agree that once I have a kid with this black woman, my kids, like my whiteness stops right here. I am no longer producing white kids anymore. They will never say, "Oh, these kids are mine." Never. So these women don't figure it out. They still pick men that are compromised, just in different ways. No, but prime time. Am I lying though? Prime time. Am I lying though? Am I lying though? Like, I mean, think about it. At most, what you'll hear these non-black dudes say is that, oh, our daughter is both, our son is both, but they'll never claim that child as fully what they are. And one of the key points to patriarchy is the bloodline following the man. You are what your father is. You are where your father comes from. You inherit his last name. But as I was saying, I got sidetracked on that whole interracial thing. But in fact, you know what, Primetime? Since you brought that up, wait, let me see, because this would be the perfect time to bring up that article where I think is the one that you showed me about how interracial dating really works and who really hates who. Is it in the Discord? Yes, it is in the Discord. Let me pull this up. This would be a great time to bring that up because no one's brought it up because most people don't read shit. But this will be a great way to finally dispel this lie that so many black men and women hold dear to. Let me find it in the Discord. Ah, yes, here we go. Okay, let me copy the link. Yep. You already named it. Yep. So before I go to that Psychology Today article, let me just summarize everything I've spoken about. In lieu of the Glendon Cameron situation, it's come to my attention how fucking stupid most black people are. And this realization came about due to the fact that when it comes to the age of consent, a lot of you motherfuckers, one, don't care what the law is, and two, only care when it's men approaching women. But when it's women approaching men, you have nothing to say. The age of consent, by all means and standards, is arbitrary. Most globally, it's 14. Domestically, it can range from 16 to 15 if you have the parents' consent saying, okay, I will allow you to marry. Who the fuck is this? Sinji, who are you? Because I know for a fact, I'm about to say, who the hell? Is that you, Smurgo? No, that's gotta be Smurgo, because there's no way in hell. I got sidetracked on that. But nevertheless, it's 14. The age consent globally is 14. Domestically, it can be 15 with the parents' consent or 16 by the law. The reason why the ages are so low and historically have been lower is because of three key reasons. 3 reasons. One, human beings are our strategists. Our strategists are organisms or species that have high amounts of kids to compensate for their lack of readily available resources. This can be proven when you look at the trends of how the more income you have or the more stability you have within a family, the less kids they tend to have. But the poorer you are, the more kids you have. You can see this across countries, in poor countries, anywhere in Africa, if you want to pick Africa, anywhere in India, Latin America, they will have 7, 8, 9, 10 kids. Why? Because by nature, human beings are strategists. But we can become Ks if we can overcome our resource deficiencies. The second reason why this happens is that even though human beings have increased our physical health, even though human beings have increased our physical longevity, living past, I'm gonna let you up in a minute, okay, Dismer? Living past 30 to 80, sometimes 90, 100. Historically, human beings at our most live to 30 years old. And for the centuries of evolution, our biochemistry, this means our production of sperm and egg, and the quality of those two has tapered itself with that. No problem, man. No problem, bro. No problem. Has tapered itself with that. Biochemically, human beings our production of sperm and egg falls off a cliff once we hit 30. The quality goes down. And the problem with having low quality sperm and egg is that the lower the quality, the higher the chance of any kids sired from those eggs and sperm to have genetic abnormalities, Asperger's, Down syndrome, autism, you name it, as well as the women likely having miscarriages. So I'll reiterate, the age of consent is as low as it is because biochemically, human beings do not make the best children after 30 years old. Not only that, we are our strategists. We produce more children out of necessity due to our limited resources. This is why the age of consent is so low. It's simple fucking biology, but you know, niggas are stupid. So prime time, if you want to get up here, I will drop the link, a Smurgo. If you want to come in, I'll drop the link. Just put one in the chat. If not, I'm going to go ahead and transition this to talk about interracial dating because, you know, prime time brought it to my attention, and this is the perfect opportunity to really discuss what is really going on. Because if you let these black women tell you, they'll tell you that, you know, it's us who's jealous of them, that they don't care, and that they're out here killing it. Now, the one thing I will say that no black woman can deny is that no matter how loyal you claim to be, and let's be clear, if your version of loyalty is the fact that you don't sleep with other races of people, that is not loyalty. That isn't loyalty. Let's just be very clear about that. It's always odd to me when I see black men let a black woman say we're loyal because we don't fuck white men. What? And also, that's a lie. The one thing black women cannot say is that y'all only sleep with black men. You can't say you only sleep with black. No black woman can. I mean, let me say no black woman. All the black women in these conversations about IR dating who have a problem with who black men pick cannot say that they only sleep with black men, but they will always talk about how loyal they are. So let's just dispel that shit. But let me bring up this article. Let me drop the code in the chat again for those that want to jump in. You know, it's been a while since I've done. It's been like what, maybe 2 whole weeks since I've done any videos. At all. So that's the best to do it. Stream and get it all out, right? Okay, so let me share my stream. Let me share my screen. The link is in the chat if y'all want to come in and discuss this, but here we go. Nice to meet you, NC worker. Here we go. So in lieu of the topic that Primetime VA brought up, let's really discuss how this interracial shit works. So as we can see here, right, this is a study done by Psychology Today, reputable study by a white psychologist, David London, PhD. And it was done in March of 2020, March 30th of 2020. So that means that this thing was done 2 weeks into the COVID lockdown epidemic. And the topic is how racial minorities view interracial couples. Now, I've already read this. To make it a long story short, they used Asian men and black women, and black men and Asian women, right? And they went over how do each groups view the other dating out. So the first half of this is just, giving down the breakdown of how everything works out, right? But it's here at the end, I believe, right around here. Yeah, here we go, where it gets interesting. So let's start this. One way to assess personal attitudes towards specific groups is through the use of feeling thermometers. Participants were asked a question such as, how do you feel about couples where the woman is black and the man is white? Then indicate their feelings toward that example on a virtual thermometer where 0 is labeled cold, 50 neutral, and 100 as warm. Black participants responded to prompts about 4 male to female combinations: black, white, black, 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 and white, white. Likewise, Asian participants were indicated their warmth for the 4 male pairings of Asian white, 4 female male pairings of Asian white, white Asian, Asian Asian, and white white. In psychology, a phenomenon known as the mere exposure effect shows that humans have a tendency to like or prefer things that are familiar to them. Conversely, we often harbor negative attitudes towards things that are unfamiliar. This explains perfectly tribalism. For instance, we can just skip over that part. Okay, so as you guys read, as I just read, so you guys understand how this was done, right? I just want to make sure that those who are here understood how that was done. So now, here it goes. The mere exposure effect that then predicts that black participants should show more warmth towards black male, white female couples because they are far more common than the reverse. Likewise, Asian participants should feel more warmth towards white Asian male female couples for the same reason. However, this is not what researchers found. In fact, the participants' responses depended not only on their race, but also on their gender. Let's read that again. So due to the historical context of seeing, I'm not even seeing, but the socialization of seeing mixed couples that are predominantly Asian women and white men, and black men and white women, by virtue of the mere exposure effect, they assume that people would have, the participants would have a more positive reaction towards these couplings because they're so common in our media, right? But in fact, they found that Participants' responses depended on not only on their race, but their gender. In the case of black-white marriages, black men, I'm going to say this slower. In the case of black-white marriages, black men showed roughly equal warmth for both black male and white women couples and white men with black women couples. Let's read that again. In the case of black-white marriages, black men showed roughly equal warmth for both black male, white female, and white male, black female couples. So this argument that black men get burned up, we get mad, seeing black women with white men in particular, because it's always white men, right? We get mad with that shit is a lie. The only black men that really get mad about that shit are niggas. I wouldn't even say niggas like Umar Johnson, because Umar Johnson only has shit to say with his black men. But it's these pro-black, back to Africa, B1 types. Those people get irritated when they see that shit. Your common day black man is like, be great without me. I'm not tripping on you like that. Be great. Whether it's y'all with black, whether it's y'all with us or y'all with them, we give you roughly the same amount of appreciation to say go for it. The only time we care is either if the black guy is pro-black, or if you're very attractive. Like, for example, with Atika Sumter. If she was Gabrielle Sidibe, we wouldn't give a fuck, because no black man cared that she married a white guy. No black man cared. But let's continue. So as we understood, right, in the case of black-white marriages, black men showed roughly equal warmth for black women with white women, black men with white women couples, and white men with black female couples. Black women indicate a similar warmth for, here we go. Black women indicated a similar level of warmth for white male and black female couples, right? But they were quite cold towards couples where the husband was black and the wife was white. Okay, everybody. Okay. All right. Let's reel all that in. As we've established, when it comes to IR dating, it's been proven now that black men are relatively neutral or have the same level of warmth or of acceptance of seeing black women with white men. Likewise with black men with white women. But when it comes to black women, they love it when white men and black women couples are shown. But when it's black men with white women, they have cold feelings toward those couplings. Now, to the men in the manosphere, most of y'all already know this. We know that when it comes to black men dating out, somebody has a problem. But when it's black women dating out, it's you go for it. It's the same people wanting to hang us for it ain't saying shit when it's black women. We know this. But now it's documented. A study was done on it. That's a year old. Now, here's the interesting thing. Besides that, remember, this study was also done with Asians as well. Here's what's interesting. When the researchers looked at the data for Asian participants, they found the opposite pattern of results in terms of gender. Specifically, Asian women were equally warm to couples where the husband was white and the wife was Asian. into the couples where the races were reversed. In contrast, Asian men indicated high warmth towards Asian male, white female marriages, but they were quite cool to couples where the husbands were white and the wives were Asian. This is why who was it? Issa Rae tried to make that comparison that black women and Asian men should date each other. Because in their own groupings, they have this double standard where they like seeing themselves date out, but they hate it when the other group does it. And for black women, they dislike it because they don't get kept. And the reality is that black women want black men to have the same dating opportunities and options that Asian men have. They want that shit reversed. But they hide it behind all this bullshit. And as I just read through this, and I will put this in the chat for y'all to, take for yourselves and use. This is a reputable source. It's Psychology Today, goddammit. If verified. Psychology Today. If this for all the people that like to deny stats, if you can't deny this one. This is from Psychology Today. It's a year old, March 2020. You can't throw this up and say, oh, it wasn't done correctly, blah, blah, blah. And this thing was, and the author of this study is a teacher at Georgia Gwinnett College. It was in Atlanta. So yeah, I will definitely be putting this in the chat for y'all to look at. But I mean, let's really look at this for what it is. Aside from the age gap thing, when it comes to this interracial dating thing, all the men here know that even I've experienced it. That when it comes to dating out, when black men do it, everyone has something to say except good luck. I'm happy for you. When it's black women, the red carpets come out. And then these same women will lie and tell you, oh, we don't do that. Or, oh, none of the friends that I have do that. So therefore, it doesn't exist. This study was done a year ago and some change by a white doctor, a white PhD in a full-on free publication. It showed us right there. It showed us right there. Right here. In fact, participants responded depending on not only their race, but also their gender. In the case of white, in the case of mixed marriages, where it was black men with black women, oh my goodness. In the case of mixed marriages, where it was black men showed roughly equal warmth for both black men with white women and white men with black women. But black women had the opposite response. They showed warmth for when it was them with white men, but were cold and had negative attitudes, as we can explain by the mere exposure effect, when it was black men with women who are white. And keep in mind that, to be fair to this article, they only went over just white and black. But we've seen this with if the woman isn't black, he's getting some type of bullshit. We've seen it. These women want us to have the same dating options as Asian men. And the saddest part is that, to her credit, when Issa Rae said, oh, Asian men and black women should get together, that shit is damn near insulting when you think about it. But also, she's not long enough with. Yeah, like if you're the two least desirable groups in the country, you should try to make it work, right? But the sad part is that Asian men are so self-preservationist, right? And just racist that they rather for them it's like, look, if I can't get Asian women, I'll get a white woman instead. But before I even touch a black woman, I'll get a white woman instead. And that's when that a lot of these black girls talking about divesting us rolling don't want to mention either. Is that on the list on the list of women that these non-black men would choose from if they didn't choose their own, black women aren't on the top of that list. They aren't. But that aside, I brought this up because I didn't bring this up. VA brought this up, but this article has to be used because the more these women keep bringing up this fact, and they keep on, because I mean, I'll give black women this: they are committed to that lie. Black women are committed to that lie because these women will keep on bringing that shit up, like, oh, we don't care, we don't care, we don't care, and it's like, yo, the research has already been done in the blackest one of the blackest cities in America. The researcher, Dr. Landon, was from Georgia. Did it in Georgia. Y'all showed yourselves in that research study. And this is also one thing about how other races of men are too. Black women have the same mentalities towards interracial dating that other races of men have. And the reason why black men don't have those same, the reason why black men, even globally, honestly, don't have those same feelings is because we aren't sexually intimidated by non-black men. We aren't. And black women hate that about us. Non-black men hate that about us, because I know I'm not the only one who's had some non-black dudes try to, brag to me about, oh man, like I like, because I know I'm not the only I'm not the only black guy that's had non-black dudes come up to me to try and, in a way, I guess, flex and antagonize me by telling me how they run through black girls like the Nile does Egypt. To tell me how they run through black girls like a river. And the thing about black women is that black women, like I said earlier, black women can say a lot of shit that, we can assume may or not be true. But the one thing these black women can't say is that they only sleep with black men. And because they can't say that, the reality is they sleep with these men, but these men don't take them home to their parents. Prime time, bro, I'm in the STEM field, and I'll have these Asian guys come up to me, and, when we're talking, and be like, oh yeah, I ran through them last night, or, when I was on vacation, I did XYZ with them. I'm like, yo, congratulations. I don't like, it's funny is that they want us to have that, like that. They expect black men to have that caveman mentality. Oh, woman mine, no one touch woman. I'm like, nah. She has her own body. She decided to let you do what you did. What does that have to do with me? The same way that you went and defiled those 8 black girls. Yeah, exactly. I know, bro. I know for a fact. Yes. And I think the reason why black men don't care is because, one, we aren't intimidated by white men. sexually, and two is because like the same way that you defiled those black girls, or took those black girls down, a black guy can do that to one of your women. That's why it doesn't matter. And even worse, those women of your race, and will have those women on your race, depending on how good looking and accomplished the black guy is, will gladly go to him to let him take her and reject you. So, I mean, when it comes to this IR stuff, and I'll put the link to the article, to the Psychology Today article again in the chat. Understand, the science has already shown you know what's funny, Ra? That you mentioned that ghetto gagger stuff, right? Is that, as being part of, the, I guess, the BDSM community, right? What I realize is that when it comes to the adult entertainment world, a lot of, like, because it's seen as taboo, right? A lot of what people like to hide in the closet can be expressed in those avenues, right? So when you you can literally look at the trends for society through adult entertainment and see the underpinnings for what's going on. Like, for example, have y'all noticed that there's no longer these really dark skin or ambiguously black female actors anymore in adult films? A lot of them are like either mixed or light skinned girls. And then, and let's not even get started about how, the Latinas are pretty much all over the place. No, but you're absolutely right. They'll even go as far as bring up ghetto gaggers. And my response is also go watch one video of Black and see if we care. Exactly. Like if you go and research these adult film companies and see the marketing they use, they've completely almost stopped using dark-skinned black women who are ambiguously black in any of their marketing. Because I had to do a marketing class for this shit. They've stopped using them almost completely. All the newest girls you see are mixed. If they're black, they're mixed black or light skinned. And the few black girls that are still there are like these ones that have been there for like 10, 20 years. It's actually fascinating when you look at it. Like, if you look at the adult film industry and the trends that they have in their film and in their films and stuff like that, you can see a correlation to the real world, because even now you're seeing that across media now all over the place. Like, they're slowly moving dark-skinned black women or brown black women who are clearly black out of the picture slowly, bit by bit, and replacing them. You know what's better, right? You know what's better? If you want a really good example of this, do y'all know what fleshlights are? Go onto the Fleshlight website and look how many of them they have that are of black of film stars. I won't tell you, but go and look how many they have that are white girls and are black girls. Go and look at that shit up. It's really interesting how the trend is, like, the trends are changing, right? And you still have these black women telling you that the world is still flat. It's insane. It is insane. No, but yeah, I mean, prime time. I appreciate you bringing up that point about the IR dating, because you helped me segue into it. I didn't know how I wanted to do it, but yeah, I appreciate that, because when you look at this study, it shows that black women are really the ones who are hurt over this shit because they don't have the options. And the reality is, all the complaining you see online from these, from girls like I'm Aloho, Paris, Milan, Chrissy, Chloe, all this shit, all the chirping and whining you see from these women is because they aren't getting the outcomes and results they want. No one complains about good customer service. No one complains when they get what they want. No one complains when they get what they want. Black women online stay complaining the way they do because they're not getting what they want. They're not getting what they want from black men or from non-black men. They aren't getting what they want. If you were winning, you wouldn't be complaining like you do it. You wouldn't. You know, Rob, they've never. I was recently watching BGS's video on the matriarchy, right? And there's a line in the Negro family that goes back to 1920, where it was like a mixed girl saying, "I'd rather be a white man's concubine than a black man's wife." These women have been known that they aren't what these men want for damn near 200 years. And they still keep trying to remix this shit. Still. You know, I have to give them credit. They still keep trying to remix and reorganize, and like they keep on trying to do everything but fix the actual problem they have. In fact, before I end this, I'm gonna show y'all something that cracked me up. Wait, let me share this. Before I end this, I'm gonna show y'all this video, because if this doesn't, because I mean, if you watch my previous video, you've seen what I'm about to show you. But if this doesn't summarize, the reality of how the world sees black women, I don't know what else will. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I'm gonna show y'all this. Okay, here we go. Okay, put a 1 in the chat if you can hear my voice, so I can make sure that everything is good. Because I'm going to show y'all this. So I don't know if y'all have seen my last video, but this right here is going to encapsulate everything I've spoken about prior to this. I want to show y'all this. Watch this. Watch.
That is flawed.
I know, but what if Bonnie has, in her own stupid way, a point?
Shut.
I mean, what if there is something wrong with me, Monique?
Because you're not dating a quarterback?
I'm weirding guys out. They see me on TV, roundhousing some goon out a window. It's a vivid image.
Kim, you are a strong, independent woman. Any brother afraid of that is not worthy of your time.
Yeah, maybe.
Did y'all hear that shit? Did y'all hear that? Did you hear that? I'm going to play it again. I'm going to play it again.
Point. Shut. I mean, what if there is something wrong with me, Monique?
Because you're not dating a quarterback?
I'm weirding guys out. They see me on TV, roundhousing some goon out a window. It's a vivid image.
Kim, you are a strong, independent woman. Any brother afraid of that is not worthy of your time.
Yeah.
Okay, so we all heard that shit, right? We all heard that. All of us heard that. That was a children's cartoon show. A children's cartoon show on the headline for Disney Channel. That was Kim Possible, a children's cartoon show. And we all heard what she just said. Now, I want you to look at how that's framed. You have the white character, right? The white female character complaining about scaring guys off. Then her black female character, who is voiced by a black woman, tells her what? You are strong and independent. And if a man cannot handle that, you don't need to be with him. Black men do not own Disney Channel. Black men have no say in Disney Channel. None. You cannot put this on black men. But Disney Channel is all run by white people. Yes. Pensive. It had I think a 4-season run. Ended in 2007. My last video was on this, but I just wanted to bring this up because it ties together with the whole point of what that Psychology Today study showed us. But I want y'all saw that the rest of the world sees this shit. The rest of the world sees this shit. But whenever we get into these discussions with these women, whether it be on the roommates, Lapeef, Kevin Samuels, all this shit, we always want to sidestep the fact that yes, black men are seen as hyper masculine Mandingo warriors who are low IQ and dangerous. Yes, no black man is going to deny that the image we have could be better. But whenever we talk about how black women are viewed, it starts becoming metaphysical and it's because black men did this. That was a children's cartoon show. Saying that strong, independent black women shit. No black men were involved in that at all. None. There is not even a black guy on that show. And they did that. And they paid a black woman who, if Raven Simone, she's been on some loopy shit. But they paid her to go and say that shit. When they tell you this shit about how the world sees you, you need to let them know, no, the world sees you too. I know how the world sees me. I know how the world sees me. I'm a big black guy. I know how the world sees me. But how does the world see you? Whether it be from IR dating to having kids post menopause, again, I'll show that picture too. Whether it be to interracial dating, to the dangers of late-term pregnancy, they use black women's image for this shit. The world is seeing y'all. The world is seeing on the article about imperfect pregnancies and using mosaic scale or in-vitro fertilization. They used y'all for this. It wasn't people of color when it comes to this. They used y'all for this. What am I doing? They use y'all for this. But then whenever you bring this shit up, it's the world sees black men as this, and my white coworkers always tell me how black men are like this, and I can't debate them. The world sees you in the same light. In fact, no better. But that's my time. It's been an hour and 30 minutes, and it's funny. The moment I'm about to end, I probably hit my peak in viewers. 7 people. Can I get at least 7 likes? God damn it! Since how I hear and shit, right? Prime time. I don't even think it's lying. I think it's that they. I don't think it's lying. I think it's that they see what's going on themselves, right? It's just that they don't want black men, because again, think about it. Most black men aren't as cognizant. Man, fuck you, Tyrant. Most most black men aren't as cognizant as I am. Fuck we are. I am. Because like I said, in all these dating guru channels, they never push the point of saying, why are you worth any of the things you claim you desire from a man? It's always trying to have them understand what men. I'm like, no, like why are you worth this shit? Most black men, domestic or otherwise, lack the articulation to put these women on the spot and say, hey, look, yes, I'm boogeyman, but you are seen as that black bitch. And there's nothing about how you're seen that has anything to do with me. Because even when I'm not there, people still assign that role to you. You know? So yeah, like, are they lying? They're not lying. They just think, I want to say they're lying, prime time. I think it's that they know most black men are so fucking stupid that, again, we won't read the books. We won't look at these images and see, wait a minute, I'm seeing a trend here and here and here. You're absolutely right. They are trying to promote the black men give everything except something mentality. And essentially what they want black men to do is provide for free. And the reality is nothing is free. There is an incentive for everything. There is an incentive for everything. Protection isn't free. You have to be worth protecting. And not only that, but you have to acquiesce and submit to those who you seek protection from. Or you can pay the serve fees to buy bodyguards. Either way, you're paying. You're not getting shit for free. For years on Twitter, you would see black girls say, I don't owe you smiles. I don't owe you shit. Okay. And you know, I would say finally more and more black men are like, yeah, okay, you don't owe us shit. Cool. I don't owe you shit either. Because before you'd have dudes trying, you know, say, oh, well, what do you try and argue it? Like, nah, if she says she doesn't owe you shit, believe her. You don't owe me shit. I don't owe you shit either. They want black men to pay all their bills while they're out there taking care of white men. I mean, honestly, you aren't wrong, because a lot of these women will tell you themselves, oh, when I met my white guy, he wasn't making as much money as I was, you know, or even worse, they'll be like Lonnie Love, who will have so much to say about what black men do, but out earn her boyfriend. You know, even with celebrities, a lot of these black female celebrities will get married to men who we have no idea who they are. None. I don't know who Tika Sumpter's husband is. I don't know who he is. I don't know his name. I don't know what he's done. No one knows who Gabby Sidibe's husband is. Nobody. In fact, the only celebrity who we know of, whose husband we know is Serena's. That's the only one. Well, I mean, here's the thing, right? In Eve's situation ties directly back to what this stream was about earlier, about why the age of consent is so low. Eve has fertility problems. Do you know how old Eve is? Well, let's look up how old Eve is. How old is Eve? Yeah, Eve is having fertility problems because she's fucking 42. That's why she's having fertility problems. That's why she's 42. That's why she's playing stepmom to 4 white kids and still hasn't had her own, because she's having fertility problems and her husband is just as old as her. Yeah, and her husband is 49. Yeah. That's why she hasn't had any kids. That's why she hasn't had any kids from that guy. They're both far outside of their reproductive windows. That's why. That is why. This is if you that is why the age of consent is 14 across the globe, because that's what happens. You both hit 50 and can't make kids anymore. And if that becomes a widespread problem, you know what happens? Populations decline. That's why France is doing all this wild shit, banning a paternity test and shit. France has an aging population. Tia Son Johnson's work on men being essentially community workhorses opened my eyes. Tia Son Johnson, low key, in his approach to black men and just men in general and how we're seeing society is like an older me. Like he's how I would articulate that shit when I get his age. You know what I mean? Because the way he brings it down is like, yes, like you're seen as a eunuch, like you just work, you work, die, and give all your shit away, and you don't get any appreciation. I mean, shit. Look at how all these black female celebrities and men want to deny Serena Williams's father his credit for making her who she is today. As much as Serena and her sister love their mother isn't why they are the sisters they are today. Their mother isn't why they're famous. It's their father. But society, especially in the black community, God forbid you admit as a black woman you are where you are today because of your father and not your mother. God forbid. Could you imagine that shit, bro? Could you imagine if Serena came out and said, "Oh, I'm only where I am today because of my dad"? Shit. Shit. Could you imagine that shit? Could you imagine that shit? I mean, I might watch it, but you get my point though, right? Like how even with that, all these black female celebrities and even black men don't want to give their dad, Richard, the credit. Like, hey, look, it's because of him. It's because of him fighting for them that they are where they are. That their mother wasn't doing shit to make them tennis stars. She wasn't. She just like. I mean, she supported the husband. She didn't make them where they are today. But if they imagine if they, because I mean, let's be real. Serena is like most black women, like she's as they would say, she's feminist identified, right? So of course she'd never attribute her success to a man, much less her father. Of course she wouldn't. Exactly, Pensive. Her comments on black men don't add up with the father she had. Her comments on black men make no sense with the father. The way she talks about black men, you think she didn't know who her father was. And but that's the point though. As great as Serena is in her conquest, she's just like all other black women in the United States. Even when they have dads, they don't want to say, "I'm here because of my dad." They would never say that shit. So there's a hot raw. World War III would happen for the yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and that's something that I noticed too is that if you're a black man who's successful, and if you're a black man who's successful, and your success can't be attributed to a black woman or to your mother, these black women hate you. So like in the media, these black women will not let you go. Like they will ride the fuck out of you for that shit. If you don't attribute your success to a black woman and stuff, like for example with Barack Obama, even though I don't consider Barack Obama a black man, right? The way black women were trying to like attach themselves to him in any way possible was crazy because they couldn't say his mama is why he's there because his dad left. Barack Obama is a product of a white woman. A white woman made the first black president. No black woman was involved in that foundation of who he is as a man. So because black women can attach themselves to him in any way during his formative lives, what do? They keep trying to attach Michelle to him, saying, well, but by the time he met Michelle, he was a nobody. Michelle made him somebody. Barack was in Harvard when he met Michelle. So you're telling me that the entire 18 years of tutelage and rearing that his white mom and grandparents gave him didn't matter because by the time he got to Harvard, mind you, fucking Harvard, that's when he made it. He became somebody. Again, when they can't attach their success to you as a black man, they lose their fucking shit. They lose it. And this is probably why they purposely avoid men who aren't athletes or entertainers, because a lot of these black athletes and entertainers typically have shitty upbringings. The dad wasn't there, dad was dead, etc., etc. So the majority of these athletes are only there because, let me not say they're only there because of their mom. Let me be correct. The majority of these athletes have to thank their moms in some great capacity for where they are because their dads weren't there. But if you go on, but if you talk to these businessmen, right, these doctors or businessmen, or for example, like Robert Smith. Robert Smith is who he is because of his parents, not because of his mom, because of his dad and his mom. So because they can't say exactly, because they can't attribute his success to them being present in his life, they don't want people hearing his name. They don't. If you're a black man who doesn't attribute your success to having a black woman in your life, you are I wouldn't even say attacked, but your success is seen as less than because it has nothing to do with a black woman. But if you're one of these rappers that tells you, if you're fucking Tupac, who's like, oh, my mom is why I'm here, and even if she was a crack fiend, she was a black fiend. Oh, they love you. Oh, the roses and champagne, the roses and champagne. But yeah, guys, I appreciate all y'all coming in. I really do. These streams are growing. I just appreciate it, man. These streams are getting better and better. Side note, RBR hates white people, but it's here with Barack Obama, the product of the very same who hates. Again, RBR is a pro-black though, so that's why I'm not surprised. Pro-blacks and hardcore Christians go through daily cognitive dissonance. daily cog dissonance. They go through it daily. I mean, look at how, as much as I respect O'Shea, look at how much O'Shea tap dances whenever it becomes a topic about, race. He's always saying some but not all, some but not all. He's always calling these women who commit crimes sister this, sister that. It's part of the pro-black, program. Dissonance, bro. This dissonance. But yeah, I appreciate all y'all. Don't forget to drop a like on the way in and the way out. I'll probably get on later today. But thank you so much for coming through. Appreciate the support. Share the video. Drop some comments under the video for engagement. I'm trying to get bigger on YouTube because goddamn it, the way the manosphere is, and just all these places in general, a lot of these guys are fucking stupid. Like the no science, no hard line stance, is just what I feel like, and all this nigga shit. But yeah, appreciate it and peace. Wait, before I go to Mary and got to Mary had Joseph at like what 12? Yeah. No, yeah, that is true. Yeah. Again, like I said, back in those days with less civilization in the wilderness, you wait until 35 and now, yeah, back in those days with less civilization, always in the wilderness, and you have a mortality rate of 30 years if you're lucky. Of course you had to have kids at like 12. Of course you did. Because you only live till a max of 30. Maybe 25. You don't have time to wait. But yeah, appreciate it, guys. Peace.